Don't worry. It's awkward that it's so often that Jesus in the Gospels is a simple message. Don't worry. Do not fear. Don't worry. Do not fear. Isn't that the opposite of everything our parents taught us from when we were children? Stop and think about all the time your parents told you, watch out. Don't go in there. Look out. You're going to get hurt. You know, when you're little babies, no, you can't run that way. You're going to get a ooby, you're going to get a oopsie, you're going to get a woo-woo, whatever you call it. You're going to get hurt. You get a little bit older and the warning is still the same, but you use different words. Things like, I told you. Do it again, you dummy. Maybe this time you'll learn. You get a little older and the warnings are still there. I'm telling you, don't mess with that one. I know her. Don't mess with this one. I've been with him. I read about it on Facebook. The warnings are always there. No, there are warning signs everywhere. Think about just in one day, whether you're at school, whether you're at work, at church, at an airport, how many warning signs do you see and read? How many warning labels are there in our homes? They're everywhere, aren't they? Warning signs everywhere. And I think it's funny that even at big events, big stadium events or big arenas, or anytime there's a large gathering of people, and they want to give you safety instructions, the very first thing they say to you, in case of fire, in case of earthquakes, in case of hurricanes, in case of this, stay calm. Hell no, run. Stay calm. And if you're going to be in that kind of trouble, say what you really mean to the person next to you and then run. Later on, you can apologize. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's so much easier said than done. So much more easier said than done, especially when we talk about tonight, we're talking about healing from our financial stresses and our financial difficulties. How easier it is said and done when we speak about that. Because there's bills to be paid. There's school fees to be paid, clothing to be bought, food to be bought, and children to be fed. There are bills to be paid. Some people have to make choices of either buying their medicine or paying their rent. I mean, it really is a serious issue. And sometimes we really do have to worry about it. And I don't think that when Jesus says, don't worry, I don't think he is saying, just kick back and relax, I'll drop you a few dollars one of these days. I don't think Jesus is saying, kick back on a lazy chair, watch TV, watch one of those prosperity gospel preachers, and everything is going to be fine. No, that's not going to happen. God doesn't rescue laziness. God doesn't rescue kickback. God gives us the strength, the courage to believe in ourselves, to get up and to trust in His providence, to actively trust in His providence, to actively trust in the fact that He will give us what we need every day. And we realize that the more I don't do anything about my financial situation, the more I don't do something for myself, the more I am not an active participant in my own life, reality kicks in, reality knocks at the door, depression comes in, and we feel bad about ourselves. When reality kicks in, when reality knocks at the door, reality hurts. And speaking of knocking on the doors, it goes together with financial stress. Bill collectors. Anybody in here a bill collector? Don't raise your hand because you may not make it out. Bill collectors. You know, they never give up, do they? Bill collectors never give up. They're about the people that take their job the most serious than anybody else that I know. They actually work as hard as if they're owed the money. But they never give up. They never give up. And back in the days, for some of us who are a little bit older, it used to be easy to hide from bill collectors. All you had to do was not answer the phone. But nowadays we got technology. First, we came up with something called caller ID. And you didn't care who was calling. Now we can choose who we don't want to talk to, right? So you go up to the phone and it says the caller ID and you don't recognize the number and you pick it up, you say, hello? Oh, this is so-and-so. Darn it, you know? Not the one I wanted to talk to. Nowadays, they have phones with even more technology. So now you can even see people through the phone. You know, people, you have Skype, you have FaceTime, you have all these things on your phones that, you know, you can't hide from people anymore. It's not as easy to avoid bill collectors anymore. You press the wrong button, they're going to see the TV they're looking for behind you. Press the wrong button, Sears is going to know you got that TV back there. Say, how you know? I can see you. No. You press the wrong button. We can't hide from bill collectors anymore. I'm from Oakland, California. Very poor city. And I lived in a very poor area of the city where the Oblates, I was very, very lucky, very fortunate that the Oblates were in my home parish. I come from a family of 11 children. I have 7 sisters and 3 brothers. And like any immigrant family, when we came to this country, you know, everything was difficult for my parents. I was only about a year old, so I don't remember much. But I do know that many, many times we went through some very difficult times. Many times, Thanksgiving came the day before, when the Oblates would show up from our parish and bring us food to provide for Thanksgiving. Sometimes Christmas came the day before, when the Oblates used to come to our house and bring a gift for all the kids who were there and brought us food. Many times, I don't know what my mother and my father would do, but God always provided for us. We never went without. And one of the ways that we were always provided with, one of the ways that I was always provided with, was through the generosity of people like yourselves and like what we're doing tonight. You know, as a ritual, bringing food, bringing fans, bringing things for the needy. I mean, I was one of those kids, 30-something years ago that benefited from that. It's the Oblate fathers and brothers that lived in my Oblate parish that would come and bring us what we needed. I know what it's like to depend on the generosity of others. I know what it's like, to be in a financial strength. But I also know of the generosity of God because I've never gone hungry. I also know about the generosity of God because I've never been left alone. I also know of the generosity of God because God has always been present there through other people, men and women of faith, and especially through the missionary Oblates and Mary Immaculate, who I am very happy to be one of today. In our neighborhood, we saw poverty. In our neighborhood, we were taught how to care for the poor. When I was an altar server at our parish in Oakland, one of our jobs as altar servers was that we had to go around the neighborhood, well, not so much the neighborhood, but just the church property, and we had to get to know the names of all the homeless people who lived there and bring them their food for the day, just for what they did. And what we had to do is go, meet them, bring them their food, come back, and We would report back to the pastor, and we'd have to tell him who we met. But we had to tell him who we met, not by describing them, not by describing how old they were or what gender they were or what color they were. We had to tell them what name, what their name was. We had to meet them by name. And it was kind of weird because when I did that for years and years, and when I used to wait at downtown Oakland to go to school, I'd be the only 15-year-old who all the homeless people knew by name. Hey, Chava, what's up? How you doing? I'm doing good. How are you? No? That's the way that I was brought up, though. I was brought up that even though we depended on the generosity of the Oblates, we too had something to give. And the Oblates taught me that from when I was a kid, that no matter how poor I think I was, I had something to give. No matter how tight I thought things were in my house, we had something to give. Because God is always generous, was always generous for us. And our neighborhood, like I said, it was very poor. Bill collectors, boy, I tell you what, they were hard to avoid. They carpooled to my neighborhood. That's how many they were. They came in cars. Sometimes I wouldn't know they were just walk down the street. I didn't know if they were bill collectors or Jehovah's Witnesses. Either way, we wouldn't open the door. Either way, we wouldn't open the door. No? And I'm not trying to say that it's funny, to be in need. All jokes aside, to be in need is a serious thing. To be in need is something that God looks at. It's something that God pays attention to, and it's something that God feels. God feels the needs of others. God feels the stress that comes with financial stress. God feels our hearts. And this is why Jesus speaks about it. This is why Jesus speaks to us about how are we to behave, how are we to act when we find ourselves in this situation. Because the first reaction is to worry. And maybe that's why the gospel today began like that. Do not worry, because isn't that the first thing we do? We worry. How am I going to get through this month? How am I going to pay this bill? How am I going to get this done? How am I going to, help this person? How am I going to continue to give to the charities that I give? We worry about all that, and worrying tends to feed off our lives. Worrying takes away the peace that God wants us to live. Worrying feeds off of our life, takes away our life, and Jesus wants us to live, and wants us to live to the fullest. We will never go without, because Jesus is with us. When we worry, we panic. And when we panic, we make worse decisions than before. When we panic, we are not able to think through thoroughly. We're not able to make the right choice. What Jesus wants is for us to have peace. What Jesus wants is for us to hear him say, "Peace be with you. Do not worry. I am here. It is I. Let peace be with you." And if we are with Christ, then there is nothing that we need. If we are with Christ, then there is nothing that we can go without. When we keep Christ in our lives, we will go without anything. When we are with the bread of life, we will never go hungry. When we are with the Creator of the world, we will never be homeless. When we are with the one who will raise us up on eagle's wings, we will never be without shelter. When we are with the one who covers up a multitude of sins, we will never be naked. When we are with the one who incarnates God's word, we will never be alone. For all the temporal things of this world, for all the little things that bring us immediate temporal joy, there's And tonight you got to ask yourself, not what's in your wallet, what's in your heart.